Hey everybody, welcome back to Sophisticakes. For this video, I wanted to show you how I made these two completely different custom cakes at the bakery, both featuring macarons with completely different styles. So get ready, we'll get started right after the intro. Okay, so let's get started with cake number one. I started with a stacked and crumb-coated cake, and I'm just using my piping bag with a tip to do the first layer of buttercream. You don't have to use a piping bag with a tip. You can always just use your regular spatula, offset or straight, whichever one you prefer. Either one will get the job done. But I lately have been preferring to use a piping bag, and I think it's just because I'm tired of having frosting on my hands. I ironically do not like to have sticky hands. I'm just using what's left in the bag on the top and adding a little bit more because I know that that's not going to be enough buttercream. Level out that top. I like to hold my spatula in one spot and turn the turntable, letting the turntable do the work for me. I find I get a better leveled top if I just hold my hand in one spot. Now I'm using my big scraper, my tall scraper, to scrape those sides down and fill in any gaps where the buttercream is not going to fill it in. Now you could quite possibly keep turning it and keep scraping it and get those gaps filled in, but I just, why bother? I just went ahead and put some more on. And I like to use the metal scraper. I think that a metal scraper on the sides tends to give a smoother look, especially if you heat it up with some hot water. That gets your sides really smooth. And I like to use that smaller plastic scraper on the top just because I like the weight of it. And it's easier for me to get a smoother top when I'm pulling in those corners. Now, I used two different colors of buttercream for this cake. All they said that they wanted was varying shades of pink with macarons. So I went to town, came up with this idea here, two different shades of pink in a wavy design pattern because I wanted it to be different heights, different varying heights of buttercream. It's kind of reminiscent of the fault line cake. That's kind of where this whole idea came from, just a different twist on it. And then you can set it in the refrigerator and chill for 10 minutes or 20 minutes and then go in with your next color. Do the same thing and smooth it out. Just try not to make it a little too thin because you don't want to scrape through to your buttercream underneath it. I suppose it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I still was trying to be cautious, and I'm just cleaning up that board as I go. Now I use some dragées. I went ahead and made my own mix with some white and pink, and this is my little trick. If you put your dragées on, if you do this right away before the buttercream crusts, then you can just spoon it on and use a fan brush and brush it right up onto the cake, and it sticks, and your dragées aren't going all over the place like they can, and you're keeping your hands out of it too. Some of them obviously are going to drop off. That's kind of inevitable. But then I like to use that little spatula. It doesn't have to be that one. It can be any spatula. Just to press the dragées into the buttercream just a little bit more tightly so they're not popping off. Now I went in. I applied my bigger ones after I did the smaller dragées because I find that if I'm applying the dragées, if I'm using the bigger ones, along with the smaller ones don't actually get stuck onto the cake. They tend to, because the bigger ones stick out further. Either that or the bigger ones get pushed too far into the buttercream. And here I'm doing a little trick. You can't see what I'm doing underneath there. But I have a little bit of water, and I'll dip my finger in the water. Then I will dip my finger in the dragées, and they stick to your finger. Then you can transfer them onto the cake. Then you don't need not pliers, but tweezers. Or you're not getting your fingernails stuck in the cake. Now, I'm marking where I'm going to be putting the macarons. I have 6 macarons that they ordered. So I wanted to space them evenly. So I'll do one mark on one side, go directly across and do on the other side, and do the same thing until you have 6 marks. And I'm using a 1M tip just to put a little buttercream down for the macarons to stick onto. These are just vanilla macarons with just vanilla buttercream filling. And I did add a little pale pink luster dust on them to give them a little bit of a sheen. Then in between each of the macarons, I wanted to do a fairly hefty dollop of buttercream. Not any taller than the macarons. I wanted them to stick out more, but enough. I like to have my cakes have a wow effect. And then I just sprinkled some more dragees on, or sprinkles on the dollops. And then the final touch for this cake was a pink ribbon around the bottom. So there's cake number 1. And then on to cake number 2. Had a chocolate drip that I painted silver. And here I'm showing you, this is a little test to see if the chocolate is at the right stage for a drip. After the first time putting it on the spatula, it was dripping down too far, too fast. So I let it sit for a little longer. And this is my second try, and they were going down a little too far too. So I went ahead and I left it for a little bit longer. And then I went back in and went ahead and did my drip around the edge. And they still went down a little further than I wanted, but it's okay. I quickly put it in the freezer so it would set up. And then I put some chocolate on the top. And now, since this cake actually went in the freezer, I did have to go back in and add some water to the buttercream. Just a little bit of water to get the dragees, or the sprinkles and the dragees to stick. And I'm using the exact same technique on this. I liked the color combination here, the teal and the silver and the white. And I love these teal rods. And this is the same thing. They're larger, so I put them on after I did the smaller ones. And then you can just randomly place them where you want them also. I'm just adding a few extras here and there. And then I'm putting on some larger, I think these are chocolate. I think yes, they were chocolate, and they were actually white to begin with. I did add some teal luster dust and shook them all together in a bag to coat them. And here I was going to make some dollops. I wanted them to be striped with the, I guess it's actually turquoisey teal stripes to kind of mimic the look of meringues. So I just striped the bag with just straight food coloring and then added buttercream inside. So when you pipe this, the color comes through. I didn't like the first ones, but they got better as I went. Now for the silver, for the drips, I just used some silver highlighter and then some Everclear to make a paint. Now this paint was a little on the thinner side, but it actually worked to my advantage. It spread a little easier. And I did pop this in the fridge to let it firm up before I painted. Because if the chocolate is not set up firm enough, you're going to end up pushing that chocolate around a little bit with your brush. You can actually even make some indentations on it. And that's not what we want. I was able to cover this in one coat with the silver. Which made me very happy because I don't like it when you have to go back and do another coat. That just equals more time. Oh God, that kind of time. And I skipped ahead to the end because that takes a long time to do. And for the top, I just used a wider fan brush, and I like to brush it all in the same direction so that if you have lines that you tend to get with the brush, at least they're all going the same way instead of haphazardly all over the place. And the customer had requested some bottles of vodka, macarons, fresh flowers, and was there one other thing I was missing? I don't think so. So I'm going to prep the flowers here. I had cut the stems down. I'm using some floral tape to wrap the stems of those flowers so that they're food safe. I'm just figuring out where I want to put them. I like to eyeball it before I commit. Get an idea. And I'm just sticking that straight into the top of the cake. Since it is covered with a floral tape, it's just fine. I add a little buttercream to the back there to hold the bottle up. And a little reinforcements from a macaron doesn't hurt. I'm adding a few dollops of that white and turquoise scattered around. I just wanted it to be like a Hershey's Kiss kind of dollop with some texture to it, whatever. That was a French tip. I think that was a French tip that I used for that. And I'm just putting the extra macarons. I had 5 of them to figure out on this one where they would go best. And when you have an object sticking out of your cake that might be top heavy, not top heavy, but that could fall over like that, it doesn't hurt to use some buttercream dollops behind it to prop it up from behind, but you're making it look intentional, like you meant to do that. And just added some more sprinkles to the top, just like around the bottom. And a few more pieces of candy. There's a lot of more little details I felt like on this one. And here I showed you how I had some dollops in the back there. Remember, quote unquote, intentional dollops. It was the plan all along, you know. Goodness, you would think I'd be done soon, wouldn't you? So there's cake number 2. I think this one is gorgeous as well. So let me know which design you like better. Cake number 1 with the pinks, or cake number 2 with the silver and turquoise. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, share, leave any comments or questions. Let me know if you have anything that you need to ask, and I will do my best to answer. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time.